There have been a lot of confusing reports and stories about what is coming next for Star Wars. Originally, people had said that the next era we were going to be discovering in Star Wars was going to be called the High Republic, and that we were going to spin out and have sort of an MCU in this time period, 400 years before the Phantom Menace. Then there were some reports that came out suggesting Lucasfilm was developing an Old Republic television show, an Old Republic movie, and an Old Republic video game. And that's just frankly confusing as hell. Why would they do that? Why would they establish this High Republic era and then at the same time develop stuff way before that in the Old Republic? Well, after speaking to a lot of my sources and talking this over with a bunch of other insiders, I think I got it figured out, guys. I think the High Republic and the Old Republic are the exact same thing under Disney. What's up, everybody? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. Do me a favor and smash that like button with the powers of the Force, and let's get right into this. Now, this is something I've been speculating about for a while now, and I've been talking to different people about, and I am pretty convinced that the reports of things being developed in the Old Republic are actually things referring to the High Republic era, and that there will be no stuff developed in the actual Old Republic under Disney anytime soon. And I'm not the only one that thinks this. In fact, I want to show you a clip here. When I was interviewing Jeremy Conrad last week, we were mostly talking about Marvel stuff, but he also scoops some Star Wars stuff as well. And I asked him about this High Republic versus the Old Republic stuff, and this is what he had to say. But I'm just curious, because I know you've been scooping some Star Wars stuff a lot recently. You've been scooping some DC stuff as well. But do you know anything about the High Republic and Project Luminous? Because here, let me just kind of briefly tell you where I'm at with this, right? So I follow this pretty closely. Friend of the channel, Jason Ward. I talk with him a little bit about stuff.
Good friend.
Yeah, good dude. Good dude. What do you think is going on? Do you think, because when we heard that the High Republic was coming out, my idea was, okay, this will be their place to play. This will be their MCU. This is...
Yep. Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, but then you hear these reports of Lucasfilm developing an Old Republic television show and possibly even an Old Republic movie. And to me, I'm confused on whether or not people are all just looking at the same thing and calling it different things.
I think that's exactly what it is. I think because originally the Old Republic thing came out, I think it was on BuzzFeed. It came out, and I remember talking to Jason about it, and it didn't make too much sense because there's other stuff going on. And at one point, people thought that might have been like an intentional leak to throw people off what was really happening. And I think it could just be wires crossed. They think they hear High Republic and they think that's Old Republic. Right. It really seems, because with the High Republic, it's a clean slate pretty much. Right. They could do whatever they want there. There's no books, there's no comics, there's no video games that you'll have people saying, hey, wait, but in this book, this happened. This is going against legends or whatever. So they have a clean slate there, and they have it's a big playground they can have. And I believe Luminous might be something that's going to start setting up that, because there's a rumor going around that next year's video game that's coming out will be set in that era. So it's going to be, everything's lined up to be the High Republic, and they'll probably do TV series set in that. And I think people just heard High Republic and they immediately think, oh, it's Old Republic. Yeah, it technically is. It's just only 400 years instead of 4,000.
So you see, Jeremy Conrad and I are on the same page when it comes to this, man. The idea is wires being crossed. And this happens all the time with sources, because frankly, guys, sources that are on the sets of these movies or in the production for these different things, they are usually not as hardcore of a fan or as hardcore of an internet follower of all the different things possibly going on as the people that are reporting it. Like, a great example of what I'm trying to get at here is when Jason Ward was trying to scoop stuff for Star Wars Episode 9, specifically with the different voices at the end of that film. He was asking his sources, hey, is Ahsoka's voice in there? Do you hear Anakin? Do you hear this voice? Do you hear that voice? And the sources were like, I don't know. I don't really know who Ahsoka is. Maybe I heard Anakin. I don't think I did. You know, that was the stuff that he was getting back from the sources, because they're not as hardcore as Jason is. And on top of that, sources and really just humans in general will fill gaps missing in information with things they think they know. And so imagine being a source and you're told something, or something comes across your desk talking about how the next era of Star Wars is going to be in this time period way before the Phantom Menace, where the Jedi are just coming into their own and sort of establishing the Republic. Well, if you know a little bit about the Old Republic, you're just automatically going to make connections to that time period, and you'll report it as being the Old Republic. And imagine something comes across your desk where there's a video game company developing a game based on Knights of the Old Republic, sort of a reimagining of that, but the details within the stuff that's there and what the video game company is actually doing is more like they're adapting a version of Knights of the Old Republic for the High Republic time period. But you might not know that. You might just do the broad strokes and report to someone else that Disney is developing a remake or a reimagining of Knights of the Old Republic. Are you kind of seeing where I'm coming from here, guys? It's really just sort of the outliers within this whole situation. We know that very good sources have talked about the High Republic. Very good sources have talked about how Project Luminous is going to spin into the High Republic era, and the High Republic itself is literally name dropped in a recent Marvel Star Wars comic book. And I think the smart money is on the fact that the High Republic is going to be Disney's version of the Old Republic. They can bring in some of the things they liked from the Old Republic and have it established in the High Republic era. But as Jeremy Conrad said in that interview from last week, it's sort of a clean slate for Disney. Because as I've talked to you guys about, one of the problems with Disney Star Wars is they are rubbing up too closely against stories that are alternate and also beloved. So like, for instance, the sequel trilogy itself was always going to be compared to Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Empire series. And that's because for so many Star Wars fans, Heir to the Empire, that trilogy of books, is literally the perfect sequel to the original trilogy. It was great storytelling. It was done at a time when people didn't have anything else. And so that was their version of the sequel trilogy. And so the sequel trilogy was just always going to be compared to that thing, to that Legends property. And that's what I was warning people, that if we actually do go back to the Old Republic, I think that's a bad move for Disney, because you're going to do nothing but bring comparisons of your new version of the Old Republic against the old version of the Old Republic, which was very beloved. And so the way around that is to create a new time period where you can bring in some of the things you like about the Old Republic, some of the things you like about the prequels, and you can have this new clean slated era which will tie into the prequels and thus tie into the rest of Star Wars canon, but you've got a lot of wiggle room. You don't have to do the character of Revan. You can reference the character of Revan, but you don't have to retell that story. You can set up all new characters, all new Jedi, some Sith, some new baddies that might have to do with the Sith but aren't exactly Sith. By the way, there's a rumor of like these Sith gods, which kind of might make very interesting villains for some of the Jedi during the High Republic era. Sounds dope. And so basically all signs point to the High Republic era being the new playground for Disney Star Wars, being what they are developing next, and sort of being their MCU, where they will tell a bunch of different stories that all do connect but aren't necessarily sequentially connected, and they're just going to explore this time period in the galaxy. It's like prequels and Old Republic sort of homogenized or fusion danced together, which to me sounds amazing. And so frankly, to be clear, I think most of the reports about Old Republic stuff being developed over at Disney are not true. They are true in the sense that Disney is developing stuff that's old, as far as older than the Republic we see in the prequels, but it's not Old Republic in the way that Star Wars fans think the Old Republic is. It's all High Republic. It's all during that era. That's what I think, although it is not confirmed, and many other insiders agree with me. But I want to know what you think about this. Do you see where I'm coming from? Do you think that the High Republic is legitimately going to be the new place we play within Star Wars, and that the Old Republic is going to sort of be left alone? Or do you disagree? And do you think that Disney is going to develop both, that they're going to develop the High Republic and also develop Old Republic stuff as well? Whatever you're thinking about all of that, let me know in the comment section below. And now let's shout out that DBZ guy. Indeed, it is Franklin Richards, who is the mutant within the Fantastic Four family. Shout out to you, that DBZ guy. And now let's ask another nerd card question before we get out of here. I want to know, what is the name of the 2 moons that were above the planet of Typhon, where the Force users would send people to go to when they were out of balance with the Force? What are the names of the 2 moons, the light side and dark side moons from the Old Republic? Republic? Answer that question in the comment section below. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.